We are rapidly approaching the fourth and potentially final season of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, and over the past week or so, the game has had a lot of conversation around it, and that's because the game has gone on a major sale, and that's putting it lightly. Whether that's Steam, PlayStation, Xbox, or Epic, the game has gone down to as low as like £4, which at that point is crazy value to not even consider picking it up, especially with Deathstroke on the way. But with more people jumping into the game for the first time, it's raised a couple of questions in the community, and then I've got a question myself in terms of where we're at. So that's what I want to do today. I want to talk about two big questions I have about Suicide Squad heading into Season 4 and whether it is the final season. But before I do that, as always, if DC, Arkham, or comic book games are your thing, consider subscribing. We do news, reviews, guides all around here, so if you're after some of that, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I'd love for you to stick around. Alright, let's dive into it. So let's start with a question that some of the community have been asking about over the past week. And that is, with these increased player counts that we've seen with the game going on a massive sale, could there potentially be a year 2? I'm going to be pretty blunt with this. I just do not see in any reality this game getting a year 2. On Steam, the game's had like 1,000% player increase, but even those numbers are so small for what this kind of game needs to succeed. I think the game peaked at around 2,500 on Steam, and yes, I would agree that Steam is the smallest indicator in terms of popularity of Suicide Squad. I do think that most people who are playing this game reside on PlayStation or Xbox, but I just can't picture this game doing well enough to warrant a year 2. Of course, we have no indication of what the player counts are actually like on PlayStation or Xbox since they don't disclose that. And to be honest with you, for as much as I think it's a pro player move that Steam do and you can see player counts, I'm kind of sick of the constant talk about player counts for so many video games now. It's become a detractor, and I think I'll save that for another video, but it's starting to do my head in the obsession with player counts, and that's a thing for another video. But yeah, I mean, it's no secret that WB have been extremely disappointed with the way that Suicide Squad has performed. They are just constantly banging on every quarterly earnings call about how much this game has kind of flopped for them. And I'm sure they're obviously comparing some of that to Hogwarts Legacy. But at this point, I just don't see a way this game can get a year 2. Like, even when the game has gone down to £4, to get a peak player count of like 2,000, like that is still such poor numbers for something that is a DC property. And you know, WB recently, they wouldn't shut up about Suicide Squad. It was like the fourth horseman after the trinity of Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. So I personally think that Teen Titans is a stronger IP, but we'll talk about that another day. But I do think that, you know, they saw a lot of success in Suicide Squad and they really want to push it. And even with their constant optimism for Suicide Squad as a brand, I just think that this game its reputation is gone. And if there's one thing in video games that you get now, you get one first chance. And it's in very, very rare cases, like No Man's Sky, like Cyberpunk 2077, where you can actually rebuild. And for the amount of investment that Suicide Squad would have to put into this, I just don't see a case where Rocksteady continue working on this game. At absolute best, maybe it could get shifted to some kind of support studio and we get less frequent updates, but we still get some. But I just think they've seen this. They're just doing good in terms of, right, we said we're going to do 4 seasons. Let's finish that out. And I do believe that I don't know this. It's pure speculation. But that initial delay that saw the game pushed all the way to February, I feel like the game was pretty done at that point. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm completely wrong, and I could be. But I feel like the game was done. And that delay was to make sure that all the seasons were in great order so that they could be released at the cadence that they actually wanted to. And what's basically happened is that, you know, they're ready to go. They're pretty much ready to go, and that's why we're seeing them at the cadence we have done. And like I say, I imagine that console player base is a lot stronger than what it is on PC. But I just can't imagine it being anywhere near strong enough to warrant a second year's worth of support. Particularly for how expensive this game actually is. Like, it's those cutscenes that we get every now and then, they're not cheap. Like, you look at the production quality of them. And I personally feel that from an end game perspective, like, the game needs a major, major overhaul. Like, those, I've spoke about this in the past, but those incursions as an end game activity, that is fine for a season, 2 seasons at best. But after that, it has become extremely bare bones. That entire end game, it needs a full-on rework. Even for as good and is slept on as that build crafting is, because people don't give it a chance, and it is actually fantastic. It really is, especially when you add the DC flavor into it. And I've played quite a few looter shooters. It's just that the build crafting itself and the loot is fun, but the enemies and the repetition of the activities just takes all away from that. So even if it is that good, we need a complete rework to some of the way the activities work and what the end game is. And yeah, I just can't imagine this game getting a year 2. I think it's best, and I feel like, yeah, Rocksteady have just moved on to the next thing. And obviously we have the report in from Jason Schreier where he was talking about Rocksteady helping out with a director's cut of Hogwarts Legacy. And it probably feels now that Rocksteady are about to move on to whatever the next big game is. They're cutting the losses here, and hopefully they'll go back to single player. There was some good stuff here. The movement was fantastic, and like I say, the build crafting was great. I really loved the Metropolis, but there is no doubt in my mind that Rocksteady are best when they stick to the single player routes with what we've got in the Batman Arkham games. So that's one question, is could this game get a year 2? And like I say, that's just my opinion. It could get a year 2. I'd love to be wrong, but also I kind of do just want them to go back to a single player game at this point and let someone who is well versed in live service make a DC live service game in the same way that Marvel is about to get Marvel Rivals in like a day or two. So yeah, I really want to see a DC live service game. I would just love to have DC Universe Online too. I've tried to go back to DC Universe Online. It doesn't work for me. I just want to be the hero. I want to be Batman. I want to be Superman. I don't want to be a version of them, you know? So with that in mind and the idea that we're not going to get a year 2, that leaves me with a bigger question in terms of how is this going to end? If there's not going to be a Season 5, which I feel is pretty unlikely, from the cadence that we've got so far with Season 2 and 3 in particular, where we're rescuing one Justice League member at a time, so we did The Flash in Season 2, Green Lantern in Season 3, and probably the Batman we'll do in Season 4 now. Well, how does that work with Superman? Was he going to be the Season 5 hero, and then that's where we defeat the final Brainiac? We've got 6 Brainiacs left, 5 Brainiacs, we're on 7 out of 13. So we had 6 Brainiacs left to kill, right? How does that wrap up in one season when we've been killing 2 Brainiacs in a single season? So my question really is, how is this going to end? Are we actually going to get a satisfying conclusion and the end to the story that Rocksteady wanted to tell with the fight against Brainiac? Are they going to somehow converge Season 4 and 5 into one mega season? I hope that's the case. Like, for me, that's best case scenario. You know, like, I really hope that we can get Batman and Superman back in the same season, and I don't know how we deal with all the remaining Brainiacs. Like, maybe Deathstroke killed a couple off screen, or Amanda Waller's got some agents somewhere else killing a few Brainiacs off screen, and maybe that's how they wrap it all up. But I feel like Rocksteady will want to wrap this story up. I don't feel like they want to leave loose ends. Nobody knows what they will do with the next game, whether it'll take place after, it'll be a prequel. I hope it takes place after. Like, even for as much as people rag on the Suicide Squad story, if, as the rumors are kind of, you know, saying, they're going back to Batman, I think you can tell a great Batman story after the events of Suicide Squad in terms of rebuilding trust. Stick the Court of Owls in there, stick Hush in there, make them kind of tarnish Bruce Wayne's name. I'll leave a video, a link to my video in that description because I spoke about that and I don't want to bore you again. But that is my big question, is how is this all going to wrap up? Can they cram it all into Season 4? Or was the plan Season 4? Because to me, it feels like Season 5 was the original intention for where this Brainiac story was going to wrap up. Maybe we will get a Season 5, but WB being WB and saying they're just doing Seasons 1 to 4 and that's what you're going to get, I just wouldn't put too much hope on us getting a Season 5. I'd love to be wrong with this. Like, people come at me like, you want the game to be... I feel like I'm one of the the few online defenders of this, and then people take it the other way where it's like, you're a Suicide Squad defender, and I'm like, no, like, I enjoy aspects of the game, and there's some aspects of the game that I really don't like, but apparently everything on the internet these days has to be, it's the best thing ever or the worst thing ever. There's no in between. But yeah, I really do hope that we can get a satisfying ending here, because I think it could be really cool. Again, say what you want about the way they handled the clone Batman death or the clone Superman death, but fighting Brainiac, hopefully the actual realized version of Brainiac with actual, you know, tendrils and not clone Flash or clone Superman, with the Justice League, could be very, very cool. And I hope there's a cutscene for that, because, again, the production levels of Suicide Squad are incredible. The lighting, the cinematics, the way that the actual rendition of the Justice League, I think is fantastic. And I love that opening like section where you're going through the Hall of Justice and you're seeing all like the monologues from them all. And I really hope that we get to kind of fight alongside them after digging them out of this pit that they've created for themselves. But yeah, that's really my big question about it is this story going to be wrapped up? By the time Season 4 ends, are we going to have a satisfying conclusion to Suicide Squad? Or is it just kind of going to be left there and WB are just like, nope, move on, and we don't get wraps on it? And at this point, I really don't know. Like, seasons are just on the Monday, oh, Season 4 is out tomorrow, and then it drops on the Tuesday. And there's no real communication from Rocksteady, you know, there's no real comms anymore. And to be honest with you, who can blame it? Because anything they post is just, it's an absolute cesspit social media has become. And it's like, I can't imagine spending years of my life working on a video game, 5, 6, 7 years. You released a video game and all you wanted to do was entertain some people. And all you get in return is just vile abuse. And it's like, who can blame them at this point for not saying anything? I wouldn't, you know, and it's, we've got to have a conversation about honest and open feedback, and that I can say that I don't like aspects of this game, and there is aspects that I do like, and just have a conversation about it. Like, why is everyone so weird about it, man? So yeah, like, because there's no real open communication about it anymore, it's just Rocksteady like, right, it's out tomorrow. I have no idea in terms of, because I try and plan ahead in terms of when I'm streaming or making content on the game, and I'm just guessing. It's just a complete guessing game at this point for when Season 4 might drop. I have my suspicions if they keep into that 6-week cadence they originally said, it will be December 17th, but I have no idea. I could release this video and it could drop immediately. I don't know. But those are my big two questions that I have. Is, will there be a year 2? Most likely no. And if so, then how is that going to affect the story? Are we going to get a satisfying conclusion? I just thought it was worth talking about, worth discussing, because, like I say, there's been a lot of conversation about will there be a year 2, and then, as a result, a lot of conversation about how is this story going to end. We've still got 6 Brainiacs left to kill, or 5 Brainiacs, I'm not sure at this point. Can we rescue both Batman and Superman the same season and kill the final Brainiac? I have no idea at this point. And I can't lie, like, I am pretty excited for Season 4. The seasons have been slowly getting better over time. They're still not great, but again, my man's finally arriving in the game. Isn't it weird that 11 years after this guy was teased for a Suicide Squad from another developer in Arkham Origins with WB Montreal, that he's now being added as DLC to Rocksteady Suicide Squad? Like, it's just mental to me. I think about it a lot when I play these games, and it's a crazy situation. But I mean, we've seen what they've done with Traversal Tech, with Mrs. Freeze and with Lawless, and it's been fantastic. So I'm really keen to see kind of how Deathstroke's moveset is going to be. But that's enough discussion for today. Whenever Season 4 drops, I'll be all over it. But now I want to hear from you. Do you think there's a possibility of getting a year 2? And if so, what's giving you that feeling about it? And if not, how do you see this all wrapping up? Like, do you think we will get to see a fitting conclusion in Season 4? Or do you think, like, we're just going to get kind of an abrupt ending and Rocksteady is going to move on to the next game? Like, let me know how you're feeling about Season 4, the chances of a conclusion, and would you like a year 2, or do you just want them on the next Batman at this point, or whatever they are making? If you enjoyed hearing me talk about the game, then leaving a like would be appreciated. It helps me fight the algorithm gods. And like I said, if comic book games, DC games, Arkham games are your thing, news, reviews, guides, gameplay, live streams, whatever it may be, consider subscribing. I would love you to stick around. Otherwise, all my socials will be linked in the description down below, so if you want more bad comic book opinions, you can absolutely find them on there, especially on Blue Sky. Otherwise, I hope you have a terrific day, play games, get gains, and I'll catch you in the next one.